after mixing the best I could do at home, after taking the song as far as I could with what I had in the box, brought it in here and split things up. So I have not only control over it through the desk, but also because the desk itself adds a warmth and a certain type of distortion and clarity, which I really like. It kind of, you could say it makes it sound more analog. All this was recorded at Sunset Sound in an analog studio on a sort of API based desk. We then did quite a lot of recording at home in Pro Tools, so I wanted to warm that stuff up and make it have a similar vibe to the drums and bass and some of the guitars that were recorded in the studio. If we go through it in the session, I've got both these drum kits. There's two drum kits. There's a first verse drum kit, which is a slightly lighter sound, and then a heavier, sort of more normal, I suppose, drum sound for the rest of the song. And what I've done here is split it up, so I've got the direct kick sound, which is the close mics. I've got that trick that I've explained actually before on other Mix with the Master sessions, using a guitar distortion pedal, in this case a Sans amp, to give a thickness to the kick. I've got the direct snare and a distorted snare, which is just actually this time what I've used to get the low end on the snare is I'm using a distressor compressor right over there. It's really hitting it hard. And on this particular track, I'm just using this for the low end of the snare. It's to make it really thick. And if you look at the EQ that I've got here, it's got quite a lot of the top end is rolled off and the low end is boosted. So this sound, if I play it, actually, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the normal snare mic, which is just a 57, and then this is the low end. It's just sort of a thuddy kind of sound, and together it just sounds quite thick. With the kick, I'm doing kind of the same thing. I've got a sort of direct mic, and then I've got a distorted Sans amp underneath it. So together, the close mics sound like that. And then I've got the room mics of the drum kit, which sound like this. And then I've got the sort of close mics. In this case, I've also got some overdub brushes that we added. So all together, it sounds like this. This is on the second verse of the song. The reason I've got it split up this way is that when I finish the mix and I'm totally happy with it, we can actually print the stems this way so that I have some control by using the stems to change anything I want. For instance, if I want the snare louder, I can use the snare stem, kick drum louder, the kick drum stem, or I can put the rooms up, and I can add this to the final mix that I've got, if I choose to change it. Let me just go back to the beginning of the song, and I'll play you the other drum kit, which is a much more intimate sound, as you'll hear. It's actually coming up the same outputs. So I've controlled the difference between the two drum kits in the box, but it's coming up these same Neve channels. So if we go down here, we can add, I can solo the bass, which is a really great bass part, very much a huge melodic part of this song. Although this sounds like quite a simple bass part in many ways, it was quite a difficult sound to get right. It goes from very high to very low, and it's got that slide, which is really important. I found that when it went from the verse to the chorus, it needed to change sound. I've got this EQ here. As you can see here, I've split this close mic to another channel, and it changes sound on the choruses. I've got a slight time adjuster, which is in samples, which is changing the phase relation between it and the DI and the other close mic. You get a tonal difference from that sort of sound to this. You can see the phase is different. In the song, I found that cuts through better doing the two different sounds. As you can see, it goes to the chorus here again, and it changes phase again. But if I'd say just recorded a DI or just one microphone on the amp, I wouldn't have been able to do this. I find it very useful to put two microphones on the same source. The thing with Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, a lot of their songs are all about mood. Is actually the most important thing about making records is to capture a mood that's been created by the songwriter that they felt when they wrote the song, and really understand it and exaggerate it by perhaps adding certain overdubs, by using certain reverbs. The whole tonal thing to me is really fun to play around with different feelings that you can get from, say, different reverbs, delays, because to me, the most important thing about records, they move people when they listen to it. That's what, to me, music is all about that. I find, for instance, when I'm working with a band and we've done a couple of takes of a particular song, that we'll choose the take that we like best from the mood that it creates or the feeling it gives us, rather than whether it's in tune or in time, or in fact sometimes best played. Sometimes the takes that are played the best or the most accurately actually don't have such a great feeling as the ones that are a bit sloppy, or perhaps the tempo changed from the verse to the chorus. Perhaps that change from the verse to the chorus is what made it work better emotionally. And that's something I've learned over time. I think when I started making records, I wanted everything to be in time as best as possible. And back when I started, you didn't have Pro Tools and you couldn't alter the speed and all that like you can now with editing. So you just work really hard at getting the best takes. But actually, as I've gone on, I've realized that some of the best takes that I've recorded that are on records that are out there that have moved people are ones that were actually not played that accurately, and there were mistakes. There were a lot of mistakes, and the mistakes add to the whole charm of the record. A really good example of what I'm talking about is if you listen to, a very loved record, which is Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. I think the Rolling Stones were actually not very happy with that recording when they did it. But as time has proved, it's just a winner for everyone. If you listen to it, you can hear that, I think it was Keith or maybe it was Brian, I'm not sure, who was playing the main guitar lick on that song, but he has to switch from one sound on one guitar pedal to another on the chorus, and he completely misses. It doesn't happen accurately. There's a click before it goes in, and it comes out and changes to the next one late, and he misses the first riff of the second verse. And all kinds of things like that happen throughout that song. And, because it was analog and because maybe they didn't have a lot of money to do it again or whatever, I don't know what was going on in that session, but it came out the way it did. And if you listen to it, that's the charm of that song. You can actually hear the guitar, him stopping playing and hitting the guitar pedal, and then it clicks into the chorus and it's like, and then, it's funny, but that, like, nowadays, I think a lot of people would fix that because it's easy to fix nowadays. And then the charm's gone. So I urge you record makers out there to make mood and feeling the most important thing when working in particular with rock bands, where there's a chemistry between the musicians. I think it's really important to capture the character of those people and how they work together.